And so how does Poison come into the picture?
Well, there was this girl named Anne. I think her last name was Bancroft. Anyway, she worked at A&M or something, and she called me. I was living in Malibu at that point after my Stryper ordeal. And she said that they were having a showcase for Poison, and I was like, God, I love the name. After coming off a Stryper, I was like, please bring on some Poison. But I went to the showcase. I really loved them. They were very fun and dynamic and girly and all those things I liked about the 80s. And, I started working with them. It was pretty soon after they had just landed here from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so they had the other guitar player.
Yeah, Matt Smith, who I loved. It was very sad when he left.
Do you recall what was up with that, why he left?
Yeah, his girlfriend was pregnant in Pennsylvania, and, he did the right thing, basically.
And
he has like a bunch of kids now, too. I don't know. That's what I hear, but...
And so what was he like?
He was probably the best musician.
I think they always said that about CeCe as well.
Yeah. Well, that's probably true. I mean, like Bobby had a really good business mind, and I dealt the most with him on business type stuff. But Matt on the musical piece of it. And then Bret and Rikki were the clowns that figured out the stage shows.
I've talked to several that said the same thing about Bobby, that he was kind of the business guy in the band.
Also the cook. And it was usually spaghetti with just regular glass sauce, He literally would throw spaghetti against the wall to see if it would stick.
And they all lived together as well, correct?
Yeah, that was on Orange Street in Hollywood. They had this little card table dining room.
Anything stand out from that apartment? Any story or anything?
Well, the funny piece was the 100 industry people and the 100 girls, and they'd write their numbers on the wall, and the girls' list got really long and kind of went off the wall, and the girls would call up and say, can we come over? And they would say, okay, well, if you bring a bag of groceries or we'll clean, then you can come over. I mean, it was really crazy shit.
And then they blew up pretty quick, right? Locally?
Not as quick as you would think. I mean, they had done a demo deal with Atlantic and they passed. And
right, at the last second, right? I mean, it was, yeah.
Well, I kind of forced them to make a decision, and I think Bret blamed me because they passed, but they weren't going to get off the dime, and I kind of felt that. So, and then enters Wes Hine, because I had been working with Stryper and whatever, and there was this label in England that was a heavy metal label that had offered us a deal. The name of that label is kind of escaping me, but Wes showed up in that label's t-shirt, and we had a business meeting, and he was like, okay, well, I'll give you, I think it was $25,000 or something. And back then that was an insult. That's kind of a normal new band deal now, but the bands at Geffen were getting $300,000 at that point. No, or maybe not that. I mean,
right, but at least $100,000.
The time of excess, it was way better than now. It was hard for me to get industry people to take them seriously off their demos. They weren't great musicians or songwriters, and they got better with time. But it was really about the show.
Right, which that's where it really made sense, I think, was right. And so by the time they get signed, they're pretty huge locally?
Yeah, they were selling out the Country Club, pretty big venue.
Were you aware of a band called Sweet Savage?
I kind of remember them, but I never worked with them.
Okay. So. And Joey C. Jones, who later worked with CeCe, but he had always said that Enigma offered them a deal and they turned it down, and Poison signed it.
Yeah, during that time period, I had interviewed with Tom Whalley at Capitol Records too, and after working Stryper and then them signing the Enigma deal, I was just, oh my God, there's no money here. And they were quite a handful. It's I fought with Bret all the time, and I was like, I don't want to do this. It's like I sold my contract to Howie Huberman. And then, of course, Tom Wally steps in and, like, gives them a big deal. And I was like, okay. But whatever.
Wow. So you bailed out before they signed?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I think the Atlantic deal was right around there at that same moment, wasn't it? Or that was quite a bit before?
They passed, and then, and then they were signing with Enigma. They did sign with Enigma, and then...
But pretty quick after that,
yeah,
right?
Pretty quick after that.
So you were involved, though, at the time of the trying to get the deal with Atlantic, right?
Yeah, I was involved with the Atlantic thing, but not the Capitol thing.
So was there a falling out because of the Atlantic deal?
That was a piece of it, and I just didn't get along with Bret. Let's leave it with that.
Okay. But you're the one who bailed out on that.
Yeah. I bailed out after Bret had his fans at the country club chanting, "Fuck management." I think it was a mutual parting of the way. And he said a lot worse things to me, which Bobby Dall said to me, well, why didn't you talk about that? And I'm like, I don't really want to talk about Bret calling me a cunt.